No one can hurt you the way your own children can. It's so true. I'm in a similar situation. My own daughter, Ava, 27 female, blocked me from attending her wedding. I've been drinking and sulking for a week now. Yesterday was supposed to be her wedding, which was sponsored by me. Yes, I was paying for it as a wedding gift. Ava was not an easy child. I had a whole lot of nightmares raising her, so when she told me about her wedding plans, I was happy that she was finally settling down with someone she loved. She and her fiancé had money problems and couldn't put together a decent wedding, so I pitched in. And what do I get in return? I was blocked from attending. I can't tell you how devastating it is. A few days ago, I called the wedding planner to add my brother to the guest list. He said that the guest list was full. I asked him to send me the complete guest list to see if we could make any arrangements. He said Ava had instructed him not to share the guest list with anybody. I told him I was her father and the one paying for the wedding, so they better comply with me. He was reluctant to share it, but when I threatened to call his boss, he finally sent me the list. When I saw it, my heart broke. My wife and I weren't on it. I called the wedding planner again and said there must be a mistake because neither my name nor my wife's was mentioned. He explained that he was specifically asked not to include our names. I couldn't believe it until he shared the email conversation between him and Ava. To make matters worse, they were instructed to block us from entering the venue. Can you imagine how heartbreaking that was? I knew my daughter resented me, but I could never have imagined that she hated me to the point where she wouldn't allow me to attend her wedding. I called her in a rage, but her phone was on voicemail. It was her bachelorette party that day. I left a message asking her to call me back, but she didn't call that day or the next. On the third day, just before the wedding, I showed up at her apartment where she was living with her fiancé. She said she couldn't meet me because she was busy with wedding preparations. By then, the wedding planner had told her I knew about the guest list, which is why she was avoiding me. I went there to get an answer from her, but her attitude only made my anger worse. I told her that I knew she had blocked me from attending the wedding. Her reply, "Well, good for you. It saved you time and energy to travel to the venue. I'll send the photographs of the wedding if I get the time." I completely lost my mind. There was no reason, no remorse, no apology, just this. I broke down at her cruelty. My anger turned into tears, and I asked what I had done wrong to deserve this. She said I had always wronged her, first by bringing a stepmom in her face, and then by mistreating her by taking other sides. She wanted me to defend her unconditionally even when she was in the wrong. How could I defend her when she bullied my sister's daughter? I did protect her when she was caught taking pills in school and saved her from being expelled. She got into college because of me. Yet, despite everything I did, she chose to be ungrateful. When she saw me sobbing, she said I was spreading negativity in her house. I reminded her that I was paying for her wedding. She turned offensive and said I wasn't doing her any favors and that I owed her this. I lost my mind and told her I didn't owe her anything. I had done more than enough for her, and this wedding was indeed a favor. She asked me to leave, saying she didn't have time for my emotional drama. I went home and cried like a baby in front of my wife, Mercy. Ava's stepmom, Mercy, is a kind-hearted and forgiving person, but seeing me break down made her furious. For the first time, she encouraged me to take action against Ava. She said we couldn't let Ava continue to feel entitled to hurt us. Ava had been living off my money until a year ago, when she finally got a decent job. That's why she had no savings for her wedding. I had had enough. I decided to teach her a lesson. I canceled all the wedding arrangements. I barely got any money back from the advanced payments, but I didn't care. I canceled the wedding venue and wanted to cancel the wedding planner too, but I knew that would alert Ava and she could arrange something else. My plan was to ruin her big day. She already had her dress, so I let her keep that. I felt guilty while doing all this, but when I thought about it, I realized I had already done more than enough for her. If she didn't feel guilty about cutting me off from her wedding, why should I? On the day of the wedding, when the wedding planner arrived at the venue with the decorators and caterers, they were denied entry. It caused chaos. When the security showed them the cancellation email, the wedding planner called me for the remaining payment, but I told them it was no longer my concern. They needed to take it up with Ava. They told me Ava had a scuffle with the venue guards when they blocked her entry. She was almost arrested for trespassing, but was rescued by her fiancé just in time. She tried to call me, but I had blocked her number. She showed up at my house, but I had removed her access to the main gate. I wasn't afraid of her, but I wanted peace. There was no point in talking. She would only hurt me more with her words, just like she did when I went to her house. It was high time she faced the consequences of her actions. She was no longer a child who could be forgiven over and over. Ava didn't want relatives at her wedding. She wanted only her friends. I respected her choice. Thankfully, I didn't have to explain the wedding cancellation to my family. She had to deal with that with her friends. The only ones unhappy with what I did were my parents. They said we should never be ruthless to our children, no matter how cruel they are to us. I told them Ava had brought this upon herself. She had been mean and narcissistic her entire life. Still, no matter how much I justify my actions, the guilt is there. I put on a brave face, but deep down I feel bad for stopping my own daughter's wedding. I don't know why I'm here writing this, but putting it down on paper has unburdened my heart. Update: thanks for all the moral support. I didn't expect people would applaud me for my actions. I thought I would be called an idiot for being so vindictive towards my own daughter. Some of you asked about the background of Ava's hatred toward us. Sorry, I missed that point earlier. I didn't know how this format works, but here are the details. My wife, Mercy, 45, female, is my second wife. Ava is my daughter from my first marriage. Her mother, my first wife, and I separated when Ava was 7. Ava's mother found someone else and left me for him. They were moving to Europe and didn't want Ava, so I got custody of her. I remarried Mercy when Ava was 13, and since then Mercy and I have been facing Ava's wrath. She hates Mercy with a passion. It was understandable when she was a teenager. Seeing someone replace her mother must have been hard. Mercy, a teacher and trained children's counselor, assured me that Ava would be fine once she reached adulthood. She believed Ava would see me not just as her dad, but as an individual who needed a partner. I married 5 years after the divorce, hoping that once Ava grew up she'd appreciate that I had parented her alone for those 5 years. Her mother and her new husband didn't want anything to do with Ava. Unfortunately, Ava wasn't grateful at all. Instead, she grew more hateful toward both me and Mercy. Things got so bad that I had to send Ava to live with my sister, who had a daughter of the same age, hoping she'd find companionship there. Things were smooth for a few months, but less than a year later my sister gave up. She told me that Ava and her daughter fought like cats and dogs, and with it being their final year of school, my sister didn't want her daughter's grades to suffer because of these petty fights. So, I had to bring Ava back. Ava stayed with us until the end of high school, but during vacations she would stay with my parents. Eventually, she refused to come back home and said she would finish high school while living with them. Since my parents' house was far from her school, I arranged for carpooling services. That arrangement worked for a while, as long as she was happy and at peace. When her high school results came out, however, they were disastrous. That's when I found out she had fallen in with the wrong crowd, students who were taking pills, and she had a toxic boyfriend. That explained why she wanted to live with my parents. She would sneak out after they went to bed and wander the city until after midnight. She had to repeat her final year of high school. Getting her through college was another nightmare. Thank God I had some contacts who helped her secure a place at a decent college, because with her poor grades and miserable attitude, she wouldn't have gotten in anywhere else. In college, she once again got involved with the wrong crowd and immersed herself in drugs. Things escalated to the point where she had to be sent to rehab. She eventually graduated at the age of 25, but the following year she relapsed, and I had to admit her to rehab again for a few months. It wouldn't be rude to call her a pain in the butt because she really has been. She's constantly troubled me, embarrassed me, and made my life miserable. Thank goodness for my understanding wife, Mercy. Had she been any other woman, she might have manipulated me into abandoning Ava, but instead, she was the one who always encouraged me to be patient. I can't thank Mercy enough for all the support and sacrifices she's made for both Ava and me. Ava's main issue seems to be that I remarried, and even more so, that I married Mercy. You see, Mercy isn't a Native American. Her family originally came from the Middle East. They were immigrants living in the US, and she grew up in an NGO because her parents couldn't afford to raise their 5 daughters. They had fled a war-torn region, arriving in the US with nothing. That's what drew me to Mercy. Despite her traumatic childhood and limited resources, she overcame the odds, earned a master's degree, secured a high-paying teaching job, and built a life for herself. She's a self-made woman, but Ava calls her a gold digger. I run a flourishing export business, which has been in our family for 2 generations, so yes, we have some generational wealth. Ava believes Mercy married me for money because this is her first marriage and my second. Ava's argument is, why would Mercy marry a single dad 12 years older than her if not for money? I'm 57 and Mercy is 45. I'm not sure who put these ideas into Ava's head, but that's her reasoning for calling Mercy a gold digger. Some of you also asked if Ava's mother was involved in all of this. The truth is, she's never contacted me or Ava since our divorce. The last I heard, she was in Germany, and that's all I know. As for the current situation, after canceling Ava's wedding, she tried to reach out to me to unleash her anger. But I blocked her from contacting me through any platform. My parents were unhappy that I canceled the wedding and offered to pay for it themselves if Ava wanted to reschedule, but Ava turned on them, accusing them of siding with me. She even chased them out of her house, saying cruel things and telling them never to visit her again. She holds them responsible for exposing her high school substance use, though it wasn't them, it was her teacher, who happened to go to the same gym as me. After this, my parents changed their stance and agreed that I was right to cancel the wedding. I can't let Ava feel entitled to use and hurt us however she wants. I'm still not in contact with her and don't know what she's up to. My parents visited her 2 days ago, which was 10 days after her supposed wedding date, and they haven't gotten married yet, so I'm guessing they're planning a new date or just haven't gone through with it. Oh, and I blocked her credit card, the one I was paying for. She hadn't been using it much after getting her job, but she still had access to it. I'm sure this will anger her, but I don't care anymore. After learning how she treated my parents, I have no guilt. They're in their late 70s, and they've always loved and protected her. Ava deserved to be cut off. Update. Hey guys, I know it's been over a year since I updated this thread, but I have been in constant touch with everyone who commented on the post or PM'd me. After a few weeks, I got to know that Ava had married her fiancé in a private ceremony with just their close friends. I was happy for her and wished her a good life. I wasn't connected to her on social media, so I didn't know what was happening in her life. My niece told me that Ava had moved to a neighboring city with her husband, and she had updated her Facebook status about it. Life was running as usual until a week ago when I got a call from an unknown number. It was Ava's husband, Matt. I was tense, thinking that something might have happened to her. He assured me that she was fine, but said she wanted to meet me in person, which came as a surprise. I asked him why, but he said he would explain when we met. He mentioned that he was in town and suggested meeting up for dinner. I agreed, secretly hoping it was a chance for Ava and me to reconcile. I thought she might be too ashamed to face me and that Matt was acting as a middleman. With high hopes, I went to meet him, but to my dismay, Matt showed up alone. When I asked about Ava, he said he didn't know where she was. My heart sank, and I asked if something had happened to her. He then revealed that they were separated. Matt explained that Ava had been abusive during their marriage, with severe anger issues. She would throw things and break household items during even minor arguments. He tolerated it for as long as he could, but eventually, the situation became unbearable and they separated. Matt went on to say that Ava had psychological issues and blamed others for any inconvenience she faced. She frequently fought with him, especially because they had moved to a new city for his job, even though Ava had found a similar paying job there. Despite this, she resented him for taking her away from her hometown. That was just one of many issues between them. Matt said he wanted to meet in person to apologize. He admitted that he had witnessed Ava's cruelty towards me, Mercy, and my parents, but didn't intervene because Ava had manipulated him against all of us. He regretted overlooking the red flags and bringing misery upon himself. I told him that none of this was his fault, it was Ava's. To some extent, I blamed myself for not raising her properly. I also apologized to him for everything he had been through with Ava. Matt then asked me for a favor. He said Ava had been distraught by the separation and was begging him to take her back. However, he had fallen out of love with her after enduring her abuse. Despite that, he wished her well and asked if I could support her during this difficult time. Ava had no real friends left due to her temper, and he hoped I could take her to therapy or offer some kind of help. I told him I wished I could, but Ava wouldn't let me near her. He understood, and we both expressed a desire to help Ava if she would allow it. After that conversation, I decided to visit Ava. Unfortunately, as expected, it didn't go well. She lashed out at me in mercy, though I had come alone because I didn't want Mercy to witness Ava's wrath. I apologized to her, trying to calm her down. At that moment, I wasn't concerned with right or wrong. I just wanted to help her. I told her she could say whatever she wanted about me, but she needed to see a therapist first. Ava didn't listen and brought up the past. She yelled that she hated Mercy so much that she wanted to kill her. She admitted she had blocked us from her wedding because she was ashamed of introducing Mercy as her stepmom and was embarrassed by our marriage. Despite my attempts to reason with her, she chased me out of the house, blaming me for all her problems. I don't know if I was right or wrong, and honestly, I don't care anymore. I just want her to get better, but I don't know how to help her. Update: thank you all for the moral support. I was very disturbed when I made the last update, and this space has really helped me calm down. Mercy suggested I reach out to Ava's best friend from school. Her family was our neighbor, so we knew each other well. She now lives in South Africa, so I contacted her on social media and explained the situation. I asked her to reach out to Ava, hoping she could get through to her, as she was the only person Ava had never fought with. Her friend assured me she would help, and thankfully she did. Ava agreed to go to therapy, and I believe it's going well, because about a week ago, she visited my parents and apologized for her behavior. She admitted that her hatred had grown so intense that she could no longer control it. However, she also said she would never forgive me and still blames me for everything. I don't hold any resentment toward her anymore. I just wish her a good life, even if I'm not part of it. Thank you all for your support. I hope no father ever has to go through this, where their own child hates them to such an extreme level. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.